Namaskar. Welcome to Conversations with Rakesh. Here's today's question. Rakesh sir, can you tell me few good speeches to improve my communication? I will do so. I'm going to give you 5 good speeches that you could use to learn a little bit more on how to speak effectively. I must connect these 5 examples to a concept. Whenever we enjoy a particular song, the song has two essential parts: the lyrics and the singer and the music. I think most of us, and this is something I have learned with experience, especially in our country and Asian cultures, we feel that the singer is the song, which is absolutely true because a singer is singing the song. So the attention of the audience is there. But I think the lyrics are equally, if not more important, and we miss it. So in this video, I'd like you to focus on both. That one is the person who's speaking. The second is the words, which are very, very important. And if the words are very well thought through and written, then the speaker has much more power on the audiences. And to help you understand this concept, I'm going to give you 5 good speeches that I recommend in all my classes. Please also understand this subject is called oratory. Oratory is just 1% of our overall life, but it has a huge impact on the 99% of our life because the oratory as a concept is extremely difficult. If you follow all the steps, there's a trickle down effect in our day-to-day communication also. And that's what I encourage you to do, that watch these speeches. In each of these speeches, there is a very good nugget I'm going to share with you, and hopefully that will help you become a more effective speaker. I must caution you that by watching these videos, nothing will happen. They just strengthen your concepts. So if you want to become a good speaker, jump in the water, start speaking, make mistakes, get feedback, the whole shebang. And on that note, let me give you my 5 good speeches that I encourage and offer and refer in all my classes. The first one is the God Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, the Stanford speech. I always make people listen to it before they come to my classes. And the only question I ask is, can you tell something very strange about the speech? And invariably, the answer everybody gets is that Steve Jobs is reading that speech. To me, that is the only reason I like this speech a lot. He is an extraordinary speaker, he's very charismatic, but it is surprising that he was reading his speech at Stanford. If you look at many of his videos from 1980s and 90s, he doesn't use notes. Maybe he uses a teleprompter, we don't know. But here he had papers and he wrote down every word. He must have spent hours writing that and came and read that. And my first request to all of you is, if you look at that speech he has written down, and the speech has a simplicity of a structure. He breaks it down into a very simple opening, 3 big messages in 3 important stories, and concludes it by shaping them all together. That is the first message I have for all of you, that when you are speaking something, think of the structure of the speech. And Steve Jobs' speech is a 101 on how do you make a speech, which is the structure. And he has simple opening, body, conclusion, 3 points in the body, very simple opening, connects it with the conclusion, and done. No frills. And he's reading. And I encourage all of you to pick this up, that don't try and become this amazing speaker who uses memory. I personally feel it's not a great idea. We're anyway stressed out. I encourage you to take notes. Here are my notes. Feel free to refer them. They are yours. And if you write good speeches, it's also an amazing process where your mind clears and you become a much better communicator. So Steve Jobs, Stay Hungry, Stay Foolish, Stanford is my #1 recommendation for you to improve your communication. Number 2, this is a TED Talk by Graham Hill. The title of the talk is Weekday Vegetarian. And the reason this speech is very good and you can learn a lot from it is he uses two important elements for good speeches. The first is he conveys why he's the best person to talk on that topic. That he himself comes from a family that wants to protect the trees and the environment and animals. So he's got his credibility right. And this is something I find that we should reflect on very, very clearly, that what makes you the best person to give this topic. And you must have done something to prove that you are really good at this topic. And I find many speakers missing this part. So an audience connects more when they see you to have done something for the topic. So the topic is weekday vegetarian. The speaker first has to prove why that person, he has adopted vegetarianism and how does it help him. And the next part is convey logic, that audience is not stupid. They need proof, they need data, they need facts, they need examples, and in a very delicate, mild way, not attacking them. What Graham Hill does, he doesn't attack the audience. He nurtures you with his own experience. And that's a great skill I think we should learn. When I look at today's lot of speakers on social media and television, I find them attacking the audience, insulting them, making them feel terrible about themselves. Graham Hill doesn't do all of that. He respects that, hey, I'm a vegetarian. You can be anything you want. It's your life. I'm not going to attack you. But here's what I do for myself. It is very easy, it's good for everyone, and it's your choice. To me, that's such a great view that I respect your view. I also will share my view. And you decide what you want to do. A great skill good speakers have is to respect the views of audience. And Graham Hill does that very well. So please convey your credibility, respect the views of audience, and offer good logic that you have decided to choose. Let the audience figure out from themselves. So the good techniques used by Graham Hill could be stepping stones for you to become great communicators. Number 3, this is again a TED Talk short one, and I also, look at speeches which are slightly shorter because they are very difficult to make. The third recommendation I'll give you from TED is a speech by Mark Bezos, and he comes as a firefighter. It's a 4.5-5 minute speech, and in that speech he gives a very simple anecdote where he's a firefighter as a voluntary effort, and there's this incident where there's a fire, so he and other volunteers go to help the firefighting department, and they're authentic people. They're not like somebody who comes in. They're trained. The firefighter department knows them, and when they come, they give them some tasks to help the whatever the process is going on. So there's a simple anecdote he shares, and it is such a powerful anecdote. So one thing you all should remember is that we all have very interesting lives, but we just don't document it. We don't put it into a right framework. Mark Bezos does it very well. Look at your day-to-day life, an incident at office, something that happened in your trip, something that happened at home, something that happened in a social context, something you observed happening in front of you. Convert that into an anecdote, a story, and use it in your speeches. So the third thing you can learn from good speeches like Mark Bezos is the power of your personal anecdotes. And the way you give it out and the way you enact it is very endearing to audiences, and the audience love it with a good, strong message. So that's my third recommendation to you. The fourth one, J.K. Rowling at Harvard. This speech is hilarious. J.K. Rowling reads, she's a writer, and then she makes people laugh. And I think the power of making people smile, feel emotions, laugh is very critical. I think all of us don't realize that communication is human beings. So human beings have one thing in common, emotion, but we don't use it. In fact, in my classes, students fight with me that, sir, if I use emotions, my boss will punish me, my company will punish me, because we do have some bad people all over the world who do penalize emotions. In the schools and colleges, Three Idiots में एक scene था कि बहुत मज़ा आ रहा है, where Amir Khan was smiling in the class. And the teacher hates someone when he smiles. That's what they said. And I think many teachers do that. I have experienced it myself. And the same thing is in the corporate world. Very serious, almost deadpan emotions in the corporate world. Stress is the number one emotion. And J.K. Rowling's speech is a great example where at Harvard, she makes jokes and very scandalous jokes. People burst into laughter and she gets applauses after applauses, not from everyone, but from students. And I encourage you that a very good way to become a good communicator is use emotions. Be who you are. We have these faces and masks we put in front of ourselves. Please don't do it. Just relax a little bit. In the worst case, your jokes and humor may not cut it and you won't get people smiling at you, which is fine. Refine your joke and do a better job next time. Joke writing is also a communication process. And writing jokes is the best form of practicing how do you get your mind right, make that sentence and deliver it. So please practice little bit of emotions in your speeches, and that's the fourth example of how do you become an effective, better communicator. And the last one, this is something I saw recently, a long TED talk. The name of this gentleman is Sudhanshu Mani. I was floored by his talk. He talks about his experience on launching a new train in India, which is called the Vande Express Train 18 is what it was called. Was it Train 18? I could be wrong, but something to do with 2018. That's the year it was launched. And he tells this extraordinary story of how he was frustrated that his ideas are not being heard. He was frustrated that this whole locomotive business is very inefficient and why aren't we innovating? Why don't we have a single train? Very engineering heavy talk, but so simple. And he then talks about how he goes to this amazing factory in Chennai. All the team comes together, they work very hard and they produce this train which breaks all speed records and the audience is clapping. And he throws shero shairi, he throws poetry, and all the audience, including me, felt patriotic because he connects with basic human values like hard work, honesty, sincerity that all of us connect with. We also are frustrated that the bosses around us don't listen to us. Bureaucracy, toxicity, politics kill us. So he talks about all of that. And then he talks about the victory and gives us the pride that we all humans feel. So my fifth and last message is watch Sudhanshu Mani's TED Talk. I think it was in TEDx Hyderabad. And it's a story of the Vande Express, the train which is now breaking the speed records in India has been commissioned. And we should feel proud about it. And it came out by these extraordinary group of engineers, technicians, people from the Chennai factory. And it is now being used all over India. And these talks and speakers like Sudhanshu Mani give us something that is very critical in communication. They make us feel proud of who we are. So the final message is use communication to make people proud rather than make them feel disgusted. Nowadays, I see a lot of us doing that and we should avoid. So make people feel proud, appreciate them using your words. So let me summarize these 5 speeches that you can watch to become a little bit better communicator. Steve Jobs at Stanford, where he's reading and the structure is very good. Graham Hill, a weekday vegetarian, where he uses trust and his own credibility and logic to prove a point, and he's appreciative of the audience's viewpoint. He's not pushing himself. He's offering logic and his own credibility. J.K. Rowling's speech at Harvard, full of emotions and jokes. Mark Bezos' speech of a simple anecdote on TED. And last not least, Sudhanshu Mani's TEDx talk at Hyderabad on the story of the Vande Express, which makes us feel proud. If you can adopt these techniques into your day-to-day communication, that have a structure, write down your thoughts, have emotions and humor a little bit, put logic and credibility a little bit more, put a personal anecdote little more, and last, make people feel nice and proud about themselves and feel appreciated and acknowledged. I think you'll become a great communicator and people will start listening to you, and then your journey of leadership begins. On that note, stay safe.